Good morning once again, and we can't to thank you so much for always being part of this show every weekday from 6:30 till the hour of 9, and of course with an extension in Good Morning Uganda Extra. Once again, I'm Robert Chirabonyonyitono, and welcome to our agenda. This is Good Morning Uganda Agenda, and at exactly 4 minutes past the top of the hour, we are here to have an in-depth analysis of issues that are affecting us. And today we are more into the education sector. Now, two things are trending in the education sector. We have school fires, which earlier also hinted on in our newsreel, but also there is the planned vaccination for children below the ages of 18 that are school going, that the ministry together with Ministry of Health are working out modalities on how best they're going to have this group vaccinated. Joining me on set this morning, I'm privileged and honored to have the State Minister, that is Minister of State for Primary Education, Moriku Kaduku, and also Woman Member of Parliament, that is for Moyo District. Honorable Minister, you're most welcome to our studios.
Thank you so much, and good morning, Uganda. It's a great privilege to be here and to really inform our people about the education sector.
Honorable Minister, we know information is power, and many a times people receive half-baked information. Politicians will jump on that. Sometimes there is panic. We recently received information that there is a planned vaccination that is going to happen for students below the ages of 18 that are school going. Please, let's first clear the air on this. Is this going to happen? If so, how is it going to be conducted?
Thank you so much. I want to start by, first of all, to really thank and appreciate His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, for the leadership he has provided during the time of COVID. And of course, we really want to thank him as a sector because he really provided guidance that enabled us to reopen the school early this year. And allow me to appreciate our parents. They have been quite patient. We have improvised, innovated other modalities that enable our children to learn during the lockdown with the support from our parents. I thank the parents. I thank the teachers. The teachers have been there. And I'm so happy, and I want to really thank them in a special way because there was a lot of talk that the teachers have left the profession, the teachers have embraced other activities. I really want to thank the teachers. I, for one, has always supported that you cannot only do one activity and expect to enter into money economy. Yes, you can teach. At a free time, you can engage in other activities. I want to encourage the teachers, please, whatever you've been doing, if it is maybe farming, if it is other businesses, even if it is a motorcycle riding, as long as you can still continue to do during your free time outside classroom hours, please go ahead. And now that the Paris Development Model is coming for all of us, I also encourage the teachers, let's embrace that. Now, it's exactly 7 weeks from the time we reopened the schools. And I'm happy that the storms that have been up and down, to some extent, we've calmed the storm. Appreciation to everybody that has participated to enable and to ensure that our schools were safely reopened. Now, what is in pipeline for our children? One of the good news that we have is that the vaccination exercise country-wise has been moving quite well. And I am happy, according to the Ministry of Health statistics countrywide, we have so far vaccinated 63% of the 22 million of the people that have been targeted to be vaccinated. That is the first dose. And according to their statistics, yet again, so far 36% of the 22 million targeted people have been fully vaccinated. Coming to the teachers, We've so far vaccinated over 85% of our teachers with the first dose.
Oh, first,
and I think, of course, the statistics should be much more than that. And on that note, I really congratulated us teachers, and Ugandans can see the role the vaccines have played to ensure that really the spread of infection has been controlled to some extent. Now, for our children, we also have a lot in pipeline in terms of vaccination, and I want to thank Ministry of Health because already from last year, November, there has been criteria guidelines preparation to see to it that even children from 12 years to 17 years, they are vaccinated with Pfizer vaccine. Pfizer has been proven to be safe and effective for children. Elsewhere, it's happening. Now, for our children in Uganda, they have put it in a phased manner. We've started with children who are vulnerable, children with underlying medical condition. We are talking about children, even in the children population, we have those with hypertension, with the diabetes, those with the cancer, those with asthma, those with the sickle cell disease, and HIV, and all those underlying medical conditions. So priority is given for those children. So right now, vaccination is ongoing.
Yes, because at least I have a parent in Mukono where the school has already begun. Government has rolled out that for those that are more at risk.
Yes, I want to inform our people of Uganda, the Ministry of Health has already rolled out vaccination for children with underlying medical condition. Those are vulnerable children. And we are using Pfizer vaccine because that is the proven vaccines for children. However, this is in a phased manner. They have started in Kampala, Wakiso, Mukono, Jinja, mostly the places that are still central, because we know Pfizer vaccine has to be kept in a temperature that is much, much lower than other vaccines. But plans are on the way to ensure that this is rolled out in the entire country. And I want to say the next phase, probably before the year ends, most likely between August, September, this next phase will roll and cover the entire children population from 12 years up to 17 years. And this will be school ongoing children. Once the vaccines have been secured, of course, a lot need to be done. They have to train the teachers. They have to train the people who are going to enter these records to ensure that we have the children are registered and all what it needs really during the vaccination preparation has taken place. So that is basically concerning the vaccination process. Once we have done with the second phase from 12 to 17 years, we will move to the next phase, meaning that we have to vaccinate children from 5 to 11 years as well, because elsewhere, this is the norm of the day. So even Uganda will embrace that vaccination process. So right now, I want to call upon all our people, all our parents. I want to give the information that school-going children from 12 years up to 17 years, those with underlying medical condition, are right now being vaccinated with Pfizer vaccine.
Honorable, now the challenge here is how do you identify them? Because does this require the parents' consent? Because as maybe a teacher in a classroom, you can know that this child has sickle cells because of the signs and symptoms, but there are diseases you may not know that a child has. So does it require parents' consent? Is it a selection at schools level? How do you identify these people? And because these are minors, they can't consent on their own. When I went for my vaccination, there was a form. I would consent. How do you handle this issue of consent and identification?
That is true. All this time, whoever wants to be vaccinated, you must first consent. That is the practice. And for the children as well, the minors, we don't say consent, but they assent. The parents has to assent for them on their behalf because they are below 18 years. So that is the process. And the children who have been with underlying medical condition, the vulnerable children, certainly they are known because they have been going for regular medication, like the children with sickle cell disease, children with asthma, children with underlying chronic obstructive airway diseases or with recurrent upper respiratory tract infections. These are children that probably they have been on medication and they are known. And certainly the parent cannot lie to you. They bring to you the child, and certainly this is ongoing. But once we get into the children's population, certainly we'll get to vaccinate in schools. But for now, we are still taking them to the vaccination posts.
Okay,
Yeah.
very interesting, and that is one of the issues that really wanted you to get it right from the horse's mouth, and that happens to be the Minister of State for Primary Education. Now, 12 to 18, you might find that some are still in primary, and this greatly goes into her docket there. It is ongoing, but for those that have comorbidities, like she rightly said. Now, Honorable Minister, today we are going to be handling two issues, like I said earlier. However, our viewer, you'll be able to join us, send in your comment, your observation, your questions to the Honorable Minister regarding these two topics, the vaccination, and now we switch gears to fires in schools. You said it's now 7 weeks since we opened, fully reopening. That's from the 10th of January. But we've registered 10 fires that have been registered. I don't know those have not been captured by police. Honorable Minister, when we go back to 2008, when we had fire outbreaks very rampant, who will forget the Budo Inferno where we saw 20 perish? These fires have so far consumed about 6 or 7 lives.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, really. The issue of fire outbreaks in schools, it's very, very unfortunate. I want to state this categorically very clear, that as Ministry of Education and Sports, we send our sincere sympathy to schools that have been affected by these fire outbreaks. And we sincerely send our condolences to parents, relatives, and friends who have lost our dear children, especially in some of the schools where we have lost the lives of our children. And as ministry, it's really our roles to ensure that our schools are safe and the security measures are put in place for the safety of our children. It's very unfortunate when we started this year on the 10th of January, and of course, besides the COVID, besides the surveillance, besides the other measures of SOPs that we put in place for COVID, I think one of the things that was probably in the school management and administrators and oversight is to forget the basic requirement and minimum standards for safety and the security of the children. A lot of emphasis have been put on prevention and control of COVID and the other health-related condition. But now here we are. You are very right. In 2008, I want to appreciate the leadership of Uganda Police. By then, they put in place a comprehensive investigation measures that has investigated quite a number of schools. That was from the month of April to the month of July. Within 3-month interval, there was 33 fire outbreaks in 25 schools. And because of that, the investigation came up with the causes of those fire outbreaks. There were basically 2. One, it can be accidental. The other one can be intentionally. Accidental meaning that there might be problem with electrical appliances, maybe the sockets are not put well, maybe some of the issues concerning wiring of the house and what have you, really connecting to electrification and maybe carelessness that somebody might have left the coil, the heater, the kettle, just like that. But the other cause, meaning that it is intentional, meaning that there is maybe a rival, maybe bad intention, somebody may plan for that, and that is the cause. And I'm happy that then they release a comprehensive measures, measures that are meant for every school to put in place to prevent this fire outbreak. And quite a number of them. One of them is every school is expected to put in place to activate safe and security committee, a committee comprising of students or children and the staff. And their main role will be to oversee that all the requirement for safety and security is being implemented in the school. That is not there in most of the school. Number two, they put it very clear that schools should have control access to the premises. Every school should be in position to have a secure and non-porous perimeter fence. A perimeter fence that cannot allow somebody to jump over.
Just access.
Exactly.
Not these ones where you pass through a certain...
Absolutely. And not the one where you can easily cut and go over. So schools are expected to have that. Schools are expected to have control at entry and exit. For example, any visitors that come in school premises need to be registered. We need to exist even you should be knowing. And schools are supposed to have surveillance system. Those that can afford, there should be CCTV camera that can monitor what is taking place in the school. Number three, the circular brought in place very clearly that schools should ensure security within the perimeters. Like there should be school guards, preferably 2, and they can have 2 hours exchange, and you can have maybe if one guard monitors from front, another guard can be at the back. And there should be proper identification. If all the staffs have got name tag, the students have got ID, you can identify easily the people within the school so that you can know who is a stranger, who is not a stranger. And of course, the circular said we should restrict visitors to go to some critical places like the dormitory, like the eating place, like the kitchen. We don't expect anybody to move anyhow to those places. Okay. And the circular said the dormitory should always be locked once students are out. And on top of that, 6 students should not be kept in dormitories.
6
there should
students
be sick bays.
Not having a fire, then we hear one who had remained behind because she wasn't feeling fine.
Absolutely.
Was consumed by the fire.
That's why we have gone wrong, because we allowed the sick to remain in the dormitories, yet there are no sick bays. So there should be sick bays. The sick children should be really put in sick bays for closer monitoring by the nurses and the health personnel. Then the circular in that number 3 also said there should be regular spot check. Administrator should be in position to regularly spot check the children's. Some of them can go with matchbooks. Some of them can go with drugs. Some of them can go with the things that are not really friendly. And that's why they need a spot check. It is there in the circular. Number 4, measures should be put in place to discipline people who are undisciplined. And discipline teachers and students. Because some people may go with matchbox, they can go with other dangerous items. So the school administrator should be in position to discipline such people, being a teacher, being a student. Yes. Number 5, the circular said every school should provide counseling sessions to students and staffs. Some of the students may be mentally disturbed. Some of them may be, some of them might have domestic problem. Others may be having chronic infections like HIV and AIDS. Others may have mental disease, stress that needs regular counseling. Others may be on drugs. So schools should be able to offer such counseling from time to time. Number 6, they should recruit and vet the guards. Those security guards that they recruit.
Not many schools where during the day he's mingling posho. At night he puts on boots.
Absolutely.
An overall, a long coat, then has a bow and arrow.
They should recruit, this should be security guard, and these people should be offered training. Training on their self-defense, training in first aid, they should be trained on firefighting, they should train on patrol management. All these issues of security, the guards need to be trained. That means you vet the right people for the right job.
Honorable Minister, the list, and of course we know the circular was issued, and I know very soon the ministry may put it out there. But one thing that comes to my mind as you're mentioning, many of these interventions, you know, we are in a liberal economy, and education, we must accept, Honorable Minister, has been over-commercialized. People today, many of them don't start out
But not to forget, firefighting equipments.
Yes.
It may be expensive, but this is a critical issue. If they don't put in place firefighting measures that can detect the flame, can detect the heat, or there should be some communication method such that when there is a danger, either you blow a whistle, you ring a bell, or you do something.
And
even
people
in the
converge
villages,
at a fire assembly point.
If there is a problem, always there is a way that you can communicate to the people. So those are some of the things which is a little bit
The big
very
question
critical.
now, Honorable Minister, is what have you done as the ministry? Because we know it's all about maximization of profits. If I'm going to run a school and I need 20 fire extinguishers, on average each costing 200,000, and maybe I don't have them, that goes back to my profit. If I need a proper guard, that is still expensive. Say a fence, a perimeter wall, constructing it could take money. So now it goes back to the custodian of education in this country. Which is the ministry where you belong? What have you done in far as pushing for this? I was reading a report from the Directorate of Education Standards that shows now compliance is between 35 and 45% regarding this circular when it was issued and complying to these guidelines.
The compliance is quite low, that's true. And we cannot compromise the lives of our children. We cannot, as a ministry, accept our children to die because of carelessness of some school administrator, because they have not put in place basic requirement and standard minimum standards. So the education standard is going to embark on inspection. And this is going to be serious, really. We are going to ensure schools put in place these minimum standards and the requirement that can enable the children to be safe. And if they cannot, we rather close the school and the children go to the neighboring schools. Other than subjecting the children to a school that is not fit for the safety of the children. Even in your home, you need some minimum requirement, safety for the life of your family. So what about the school? You are having hundreds and hundreds of lives in your hands, and you are not responsible to take care of these lives. It's really, really something that is not acceptable. The ministry is going to take steps. And this message should be very clear to school proprietors, especially the private schools. School proprietors, school administrators, it's not bad to have private schools. We always encourage. But make sure the schools have got the minimum requirement and the standard required for the safety of the children. And I think that is what, moving forward, the Ministry of Education under the Education Standard Department is going to embark on to ensure that people adhered to those set standards. We are going to send this circular once again to all the schools. The circular will be sent to all the parents and all the people of Uganda. And we are also requesting our parents, please help us to identify some of these gaps. Let there be school management committees in primary schools. Let the Board of Governors in secondary schools and other tertiary institutions be active, such that they're in position to have an eye to some of these issues that we're talking about. So if the parents, as parents, we all want our children to be in a safe environment. We want our children to be secure. And it is our responsibility to ensure as committee, we have sent representative of parents in the school management committee, in the board. So please, let's also help the school to be responsible and take care of our children.
Well, like I earlier told you, you can be part of the topic of discussion this morning, where we've handled two topics. That is vaccination of pupils from the age of 12 to 17 years with comorbidities or the vulnerable ones, and also the rampant school fires that we've so far registered about 10 since the opening of schools. Now that means only 7 weeks into full reopening of the education institutions in this country. Here we are. We were once at such a situation. That was in 2008. And then the Ministry of Education and Police came up with guidelines. These many schools, just hear of them, they're not implemented. The ministry now says they're at it again to ensure effective implementation of these. You can be part of the topic of discussion by simply going on to our social media platforms and send us your question, your observation regarding the topics that we've discussed this morning. And please feel free, we'll really enjoy your feedback, and of course Honorable Minister will be responding to them. With me is the State Minister or Minister of State for Primary Education, Moriku Kaduku, with whom we are discussing many of these. Well, one says, good morning, please, can you, okay. Well, we don't have a WhatsApp group for this. You can just send in a message on our WhatsApp number. Every day the show is running, so we get your comments on that. Please keep them coming, and I'll be reading them out there. Honorable Minister, still when we talk about the school fires, one thing that comes to my mind, and I've always wondered, to what extent does your ministry have power to apprehend or hold responsible? I'll give you, I think, one incident, for example. There was a time when your ministry seemed so tough on hiking tuition. There was a time it seemed so tough on asking for funny things when reporting back to school. Those extras, circulars were issued. And one said, okay, now punishment, so people are going to be held responsible for such actions. By the end of the day, one would think it is either lip service, or you don't have the mandate to hold people accountable, or deregister, get their permission. Do you have any record why you can successfully say that the Ministry of Education issued such a circular, and such schools that were registered, they have their licenses, either were closed permanently, temporarily, or we prosecuted those that are carrying out these offenses?
Well, we have the full mandate and we are in control. That is our mandate as Ministry of Education and Sports. And I want to state this very clear. The issue of safety and security is of paramount importance. Actually, you cannot compare this with the issues of school fees, because it talks about the lives of our children. We are talking about the lives of these innocent angels. So we are going to be very, very strict. And believe me, this is not going to be a matter of joke. Ugandans are going to see schools are going to be closed. We shall all get to the field once they have not adhered, because some of them are really somebody's premises. You just get children into those premises. It's not fit to be called a school. Nothing that really talks about taking care of the lives of these children, apart from the classroom and the blackboard. Some of them are not even having proper wiring systems in the classroom and in the compound.
They're just a time bomb.
They are just a time bomb.
But do you have the human resource? I'll give an example. When I look at a district like Wakiso has, I think, over 20,000 schools. They don't have more than...
We have the DOs, we have the school inspectors,
but
we
how
have
many are there, Honorable Minister? For example, Wakiso, I think, I'm reliably informed, they could even be only 10. So how are you expecting that
people 10? Are not taking responsibility of their jobs. We have the district education officers, the school inspectors, not only one, but we have them at the district level, and they are supposed to adhere to ensure that they should not be compromised. They should make sure the schools are fit for the lives of these children. That's why I call upon the parents. I call upon the parents. Let's not just sit and fold back. Let's also be proactive where there are issues, because some of this information we get from parents. The parents are concerned about the safety of their children of such and such a school, because the DOs and the school inspectors may not be doing their work effectively. So the parents, please, let's unite together. This is a cause for every Ugandans to rise up and to ensure the safety of our children, really, because the population is huge.
Then another question came in. I think that is from Shalon, but please give us where are you watching us from. She was asking that if we didn't have, according to her, that how sure are we that we are going to have continuity of vaccines, that's the Pfizer meant for children?
Of course, we can see, before even talking of Pfizer, there was a time we have lots of vaccines. Even people were not getting to receive the vaccines. People are not getting the vaccines. The vaccines were in plenty, all the different types of vaccine. But here specifically, we are talking about Pfizer. But also besides Pfizer, there are other vaccines that are in pipeline. Studies are ongoing to see whether they're effective and safe for children. Besides Pfizer, elsewhere, like in China and other countries, they have used other different type of vaccines for children. But then the studies are ongoing. At a later time, I think the country will be informed whether, apart from Pfizer, which other vaccines can be used for children. But for sure, I can confirm and I can assure people of Uganda that the government is doing everything possible to ensure the health of our people are really taken as a priority. That is in terms of offering the vaccines for our children besides the adults.
Well, one interesting one here. Good morning. I want to let the minister know of an outbreak of ulcers at, he mentions the school, day and boarding school, Naria. The minister as a doctor should be able to assess this condition. It could be as an issue of food. All cooks do add some substance to quicken the cooking process. My pupils are suffering and are on treatment for ulcers, a very serious health condition for pupils. Well, thank you, but I didn't get your name. Then one says, good morning, Uganda. Why is it that most fire accidents happen in Kampala, Wakiso, Mukono schools? Why? Is it because of competition against schools or what? Let the ministry look upon that. He's Bobex and he lives in Mbale City. Then one says, thank you so much. Good morning, Uganda. I'm enjoying the program, but some programs should be given longer time like that. Anyway, thank you for appreciating, but we have our program lineup. Just know what time your program and be part of it. Then still another question to you. Well, this one's just thanking you that now there is proper information flow and having time to come and explain, address some issues. She is impressed that you've cleared the air on issue of vaccination, where many schools, it sounded like a rumor, and to the parents, they didn't know how true this is. Then we have a text message. This one says, thanks a lot, Honorable Minister and the presenter. Identification should be done by parents because they know their children better than teachers. May God bless you. Jolly Summer Lila. That is Ayani Senior Secondary School. So let's just handle those.
Thank you so much. To begin with the last one, I want to appreciate you. That is why we have said from the beginning that the parents know the children best. And of course, the records are there. The teachers may know, but not as good as the parents. So she is right that identification should be done by parents. I know my child has got sickle cell disease. I take the child for vaccination. And of course, given the huge, of course, a teacher in a class knows this child has got this ABCD, but also can complement to the parent's identification. But the first person is the parent of that child. Now, why is it that most of the fire outbreaks is taking place in Kampala, Wakiso, Mupigi, and probably the greater metropolitan area of Kampala? I must say that, as we all know, that quite a huge percentage of schools are in Kampala. Over close to 60% of schools are within the greater Kampala. And besides the huge population of schools, the schools do not have adequate places, really. The learnings are taking place within enclosed small areas, not like upcountry. The schools are having small, even for playgrounds, some of the schools do not have place.
Majority do not.
Majority of them. So that explains the reason why probably the outbreaks are so much in Kampala, and that gives us also a window that we should put a lot of focus in Kampala, Luwero, Wakiso, Mupigi, Mukono, the greater part of, the central part of it, so that we be a little bit vigilant, given the nature of the schools, the closeness of the buildings, that gives us a lot of hope that we should focus more in this, but not to forget the upcountry schools. Now, the issue of ulcers in Nalia, I'm happy it is coming up, the feeding of children, and this week, we are hoping to give a press statement on school feeding, and because we were waiting for the schools to reopen and everybody to settle, and after this, now that people have settled, learning is moving on well, academics is progressing well, now is the time to go back to the basic, to start with other areas, to remind the teachers, administrators, the parents of the core responsibility. How is the feeding taking place in schools? That is what we are planning to issue statement on Thursday, school feeding in our schools. And that's why Nalia, they're talking about children are getting ulcers. Are we feeding these children at the appropriate time that they're supposed to feed? Are we having the right meal in terms of quality, in terms of quantity for the children? What is it that we are putting in those meals? Maybe in times, instead of putting tomatoes, somebody may put a lot of curry powders, a lot of... You know, that's why all this food needed first to be tested. Uganda Bureau Standards need first to ensure.
These aflatoxins that one time our neighbors said your posho.
Exactly. We need to ensure these foods are tested.
Yet the schools are the biggest consumers.
Absolutely. They are fit and they are consumable for our children. Because if not tested and it is just purchased from anywhere, the children are prone to get any form of sickness, worst for the ulcers. So it's a good reminder for us. We will talk about that on Thursday as we talk about school feeding, responsibility of schools and the parents.
Honorable Minister, still more questions coming in. This is Joe. The issue of fires needs to be investigated beyond having safety measures in place. For instance, why do fires only catch dormitories and not classrooms? That is one. Then, good morning, UBC. A little away from the fires, Minister of Education and Sports at the opening of schools directed that parents shouldn't visit learners at school, but to my dismay, schools are inviting parents to go visit their children, and not even the minimum procedures of the standard operating procedures are followed. Will you stop giving us stories, lamenting, and for once swing into action? I'm talking of a traditional school. We should be following guidelines to the dot.
That is a pity. It's really a pity. We are not telling stories. We are not telling stories. But the problem is that sometimes people want you to be too hard to the extent of closing the schools, which we can do at any time. But at times we speak because these are mature people. These are people that should follow the guidelines that have been issued. But when you push us to the wall, we'll be left with no other option other than closing the school. But the problem is the parents are the losers, the children are the losers. Imagine. And leave along the fire issue, the strikes that have started. Another issue that we want to tackle is the strike. A case in point is in Arua.
Where they denied them a dance?
When they denied them a disco, and the children resorted to burn the stores, to destroy school property. Why? Because they deny them to dance. But I think even as school administrators, we want to be, I think we need to be realistic to the events of time. If there is an event in school, what is wrong by allowing the students to dance for within required period of time? Can they dance up to 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock?
Is that examinable?
And you agreed?
Is that examinable? Is your neighbor going to ask such? Is it
but
part
of course, that is part of life. Leisure is part of life. And it is not being done every day.
Okay.
And it is even in your home, you put dance and all of you shake your body. It is time for stress burning, time for relaxation. What is excessive is going beyond the recommended time. If it is like up to 9, 10 o'clock, and after that, students go to sleep and it is part of life because they are managing the stress. They have been working the whole day, even the teachers. So I think we need to go by the reality and to weigh what is good and what is not good. Even on the side of the students, strike is not a solution. Those are ancient way of life. Those are outdated. We're in the modern world. We are talking about ICT. We are talking about modernization. Now for you, you are an intellectual. You are somebody who is supposed to be a role model to those in primary. Then you go ahead to start destroying, strike.
School property. Well, Honorable
for
Minister,
the students, that is not the best way. Please, let's get to the modern way. This is interesting, but we must come to the end of it. And please, let me have your parting shot. My parting word is really, I call upon everybody that education is a collective responsibility. It's our sole responsibility to ensure that our children get, it's a right, and it's our responsibility to ensure our children get the required standard of education. But also, I'm calling upon the school owners, let's take up our full responsibility to ensure the safety and the security of children are key priority. Parents, let's also keep an eye in the school through the school management committee and all stakeholders, because education is a shared responsibility. When you blame me, you point at me, remember the rest of the hands point at you. So let's come together collectively and ensure we provide quality, effective, and efficient education for our children. Well, I want to thank you so much, Honorable Minister. That is Minister of State for Primary Education, Dr. Moruku Kaduchu, but also woman Member of Parliament for Moyo District. Thank you for sending us such a person. We hope that this time many messages have been on swing into action. And I bring greetings from Moyo, from the people of Moyo. I don't know how that is how you greet, but you've gotten that greeting. So let's hope that the ministry will act on errant school owners that are not prioritizing security. And the parents, please, from 12 years to 17 years with underlying health conditions, have these children vaccinated, because Ministry of Health and Education have given a go-ahead on this. Have a lovely day. Sports next. God bless you.